Thank you for taking some time to tune into the Binmucker Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Wanted to take a second and say I'm going to stop doing seasons and just go by number of podcasts I've done. Started this podcast in April of 2020 and had a really good time doing it. Shout out Kevin Kizumbing for getting me to start. And without further ado, here is yesterday's episode, all recorded, edited, ready to go with Christian Suddath. Enjoy. We have Christian Suddath on the Binmucker Podcast, my lifelong friend. How are we doing today, Christian?
Hey, I'm honored to be here.
We're happy to have you on. So a lot of different topics we could go, but one thing I always loved about you is growing up, you would show me memes, especially back in I think we were so young, man, like 2005, 2010, and just the virality, probably said that wrong. And just how quickly memes can spread and influence public opinion. And they're so powerful. And I'm very grateful that you showed me to them. And I would love to hear your thoughts about memes.
Yeah, bro, there's some real weight behind it, shoot.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of like shit posts, but even those like have an effect, Some crazy.
Yeah.
In fact, honestly, I think those are like the real hard hitters.
Yes, absolutely. The people who are talented shit posters can actually shit post well. I completely agree. Those are some of the best
memes. Yeah, I fuck with memes hard. Yeah, I get most of mine from Reddit. What about you?
I was on Reddit for a while. Going into 2020, I tried to cut back on all my social medias, which pretty much just meant using Reddit. I just became obsessed with Reddit. And at this point, I probably use Twitter more than anything. Reddit occasionally.
Yeah. Both of them are absolute hellholes, but
and you can just go down a rabbit hole. It's amazing how much time I can spend looking at Twitter, and it's a good and a bad thing because some of the stuff you see on that app, I feel like it can get you thinking a very certain way if you don't remember to be open-minded and check your biases, and it's hard.
Yeah, no kidding. Shit, hold on. Yeah, no, Twitter's pretty great. I personally get caught up reading hate reading real dumb shit personally. My main thing right now is tankies. I just love to read their threads. They're just so dumb.
What are tankies?
Oh, great question. Tankies. Okay, so people use that term to talk about a whole lot of different people. The main ones though are people that support the Soviet Union or China, right? You've seen that picture, they call him Tank Man. It's that guy holding the plastic bags and standing in front of the tanks from Tiananmen Square, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So tankies would be the people that support those tanks. Real goofballs.
I see. That's
real silly billies.
Let me ask you: do you think you see some of those policies? And I think we are far from the Soviet Union or China. But recently, it seems like the U.S. government has definitely tried to become more authoritarian. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? That kind of thing is going to happen anytime you see a big old crisis. People are going to use it to grab power. I think in America we're pretty uniquely suited to keeping the power for the people, specifically just because it's been that's been our deal since our country is founded. So I have faith that we'll be able to bring it back. Americans, we're real hesitant to trust the government. I think that's a strong suit. But
I agree.
We'll have to see.
Out of curiosity, one thing I spend so much time looking into recently is Bitcoin, and just I feel like it is one of the most American things, and it can help countries like Russia and China allow. And I know China's banned it 14 times at this point, or something ridiculous. And we can talk about China, but I feel like Bitcoin, and I think it is being used in Russia a lot, and how North Korea, it's being used in a lot of horrible or authoritarian places. And I think it can be used as a tool for the people in those countries to transact with each other kind of outside the reaches of a government.
Yeah, decentralization is based, you know. I wish I knew more about
Yeah,
I wish I knew more
decentralization is
about
based.
Bitcoin. Yeah, yeah. I wish I knew more about Bitcoin for sure. I haven't really gotten on the train. I want to though. You know, of course, they say what is it? Like the best time to get into it is like, like 5 years from now. Second best time is today. So I really should just get out there and get some of that. But yeah, I've been slacking.
Out of curiosity, what is just like not just kind of being lazy about it, or is there a certain thing
Yeah,
that
no, 100% just laziness. Yeah.
dude, you should look, and I want to hear like your thoughts on China. And I don't know that much about China, but from as I understand it, I know it's like a very top down, like it's all about for the betterment of the family and also the betterment of the government. Learned the other day that I sent you that thread where the guy was talking about how like there's two characters for the word country in China, which means like nation, family, like the two
Yeah.
different characters, which is kind of crazy. Um, but it's also like, yeah, I would love to hear.
Yeah, yeah, that nation family thing is kind of interesting. The way they use two characters. There's a lot of like words that are spelled out from other words. Like there's an example, but I'm not going to mention it. It's a little.
No, come on, what? Say it.
All right, all right. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up to make sure I'm getting it right. One second.
The power of languages, though, just to be able to describe something, and like there's so many different languages around the world, but languages can be used in authoritarian places like North Korea. And I know nothing about the Chinese language, or Mandarin, but it's amazing how like different languages around the world had different meanings, and how just based on the accent, like French people, we think they're very romantic because of the way they speak, and
Mhm.
sometimes the way Russians speak, we can be. It sounds kind of scary, but reality, it's just like the way they pronounce words and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny how you get an idea of like what people might be, specifically because of what our ideas of how their language sounds. Yeah.
Seriously, we could be so wrong. You meet these people and they're amazing, incredible, and
Yeah.
it's hard not to judge a book by its cover, listen and think a certain thing based on the way it sounds.
Yeah, for real. All right, so I just DM'd you the example. For the record, I didn't want to share it, but it's kind of funny, so I will. The word for noisy, the character for noisy in Mandarin is made up of three of the same characters for women.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so
Language,
that's just
man.
one example, yeah.
But I mean that's like, and I know woke time, like a joke like that might be taken as offensive. But I feel like just trying to look back at history, and it's so hard not to put our preconceived biases of the time of society and what is judged as like normal and good. Because you
Mhm.
think back in their shoes, like what they were experiencing, what was accepted, etc. It's amazing how humans can kind of be like convinced to go with the crowd.
Yeah, 100%. Along those same kind of lines, with the biases and the jokes that we used to tell. I've seen some of the jokes that I used to laugh at recently, like you see like old reposts,
Mhm.
and some of them, are just not as funny nowadays. I read it and I'm like, oh, that's kind of
Bro, I had that happen with my Facebook memories. Like
yeah,
I'd have old memes, but I'd be like, "Damn!" Like I posted that on Facebook.
I know,
Delete. Like,
yeah,
uh,
you just gotta.
yeah. I talked about it on another pod. It's crazy to think our like grandchildren will be able to go back and like audit us, if you will, online. See our online
Whoa.
past.
The memes our grandchildren are gonna be looking at fucking next level. Oh my god! I wish I had a fucking time machine just so I could see some of those.
Someone's like, "What do you want to see in his son?" It's like, I just hope he's an expert shit poster.
Yeah, straight up, dude. Oh, he will be. No chance of letting him off without being one. Oh my god. Or she. Yeah. Yeah, it's some great shit memes. Yo, China. That's one thing that I have hope for America. America is just so ahead of the curve when it comes to meme cultures. Man, I mean, like I'm I'm not too patriotic, right? But that's
Yeah.
one thing that I'm patriotic about. We are just like hard carrying meme culture as far as the rest of the world is concerned.
I remember you once told me you called it a gold mine of memes that we
Yeah.
have, and you were saying how China has kind of like nationalized, so the state runs all the places they build these powerful data centers. And, you know, here it's like Facebook, Google, which you can argue, like, do government officials walk those halls? But they also provide this great service, but they have to pay for it. It's not nationalized here in the States.
Yeah. Was that the conversation that we were talking about AI, right?
Oh, yeah, a while. Yeah, we were talking about AI. Do you think if there was like, and I pray to God there was never a hot war. I hope humanity is able to come together and interact and go on to be multi-planetarian. But you think if there was a hot war now, the destruction, and like it would just be absolute devastation, and like what AI can do, I can only imagine.
God, if there is a hot war, I hope it happens before AI like really hits, you know? Yeah, that would not be okay.
Seriously. I mean, it's cool what AI can do, but it's also it's kind of scary.
Like all other tools, you know, just like the internet, it can do some great things. It can do some terrifying things, you know. We just gotta regulate it, right?
Some things though you can't really regulate though. Like you can to a degree, but I don't know. I'm thinking of Bitcoin, of course, just because like our government has regulated it as property, so meaning if you sell it, it's a taxable event. But at the same time, it's like anyone can spin up their own node, run the Bitcoin code, and essentially transact without a third party, be their own bank, send value to anyone else in the world in a permissionless manner. That unless like the internet goes off, like you saw in Kazakhstan the other day, that country's going through like civil war, or not. I'm sorry, not a civil war. There's like a bunch of protests because they've been under a dictatorship.
So fucking based. Yeah.
It's good to see the people rising up and like take back power. And the internet was literally shut off by the government, which is ridiculous. But even then, there's companies like Blockstream that have satellites that you can connect to and transact in Bitcoin. And I'm sure very few people had that foresight. And I hope more start to get it after seeing what's happening now in Kazakhstan. But I really hope that in the future, these services just continue to expand, more satellites come, and we hit a point where, like, you know, it's like most things. Most people don't care how it works on the back end, like of Twitter, Reddit. We just want to see it work, right? And I think Bitcoin gets to that point where, like, I hope more people take the time to learn about it, but I think the majority of the population is probably just gonna have it on their phone in the same way we use Apple Pay now with our credit cards. You know, tap.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a Bitcoin wallet, and you can send Sats, Satoshis, the smallest unit of a Bitcoin, to the merchant or whoever you're transacting with.
Yeah, Kazakhstan's in a bit of a tough place because, like, you know, they've got Russia to their north and China to their like southeast, right? And they are a key part of China's Belton Road, right? You know, the Belton Road. Basically, what it is China's trying to set up basically a what's the word? Like a railway, right? That goes through China, and it's gonna have to go through Kazakhstan to get, and then go through Russia, and then that's how they're gonna get goods into Europe, right? Because China has historically had a tough time with sending their basically sending ships out because of there's something called the first island chain. That's like Indonesia, Japan, Taiwan, all those countries that form like a parentheses around China. Basically, every single one of those is hostile to China because China has been, you know, imperialistic in the past to all of them. And ironically, the only reason they can actually get their ships past the first island chain is because American neoliberal trade policies has basically said, hey, you know, we're all on the same team. We're promoting free trade. Trade will be able to flow from any country to any country. Otherwise, you know, all of those countries are against China and they're all standing in China's way. So China sees that America is their enemy. America might pull back those protections. And so they're focusing on a trade route that goes through land, right? And that has to flow straight through Kazakhstan. So basically, that's all relying on the Kazakh government. And so if the government is dethroned, then, you know, there's no guarantee that the people will actually let that happen. So China, basically, it's in their best interest to keep the government in place, you know, and Russia's as well. Shoot, I gotta look into if Russia is sending natural gas to China through Kazakhstan, because that could be a big thing in their interest too. I gotta look into that.
No, man, it's crazy what's going on right now in the world. And Russia too is like seeming to be a little imperialistic with Ukraine, but now if they gotta bring troops to Kazakhstan, am I saying that right?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Or Kazakhstan, yeah.
No,
But
I think you're right.
Yeah. You got it. It's all good. Yeah, Russia's nuts, dude. Putin's trying to like straight up make a second USSR.
Bro, I've said this on multiple podcasts, and I really do think, like, if you think about it, Putin's probably like the first trillionaire technically, just because I feel like
probably
you know what I mean? Because like he's got like he really has the central bank in his back pocket. Like that man's checkbook is the central bank.
Yeah, straight up. Or like maybe one of like the sheiks in the Middle East, right? Like the Saudi Arabian guy. What's his name? MBS Muhammad.
I don't even know.
Bin Salam. I gotta look it up. I think I'm getting that wrong. Hold on.
Man, geopolitics are crazy though. And
Mohammed bin Salam. Yeah, Al Saudi. That guy's nuts. He's probably a trillionaire, if we're being honest. Yo, hey, hot take. Saudi Arabia, you know, they're our allies. They're probably like top 3 worst countries in all the world. They're actually doing like more to promote terrorism than Iran is. I'm not even joking about that. They are crazy over there.
Why do you say that?
It's because of like so you know there's the split between the Shia and the Sunni, right?
Mm-hmm. The two different types of Muslims.
Yeah. So a lot of those big shoot, I'm gonna embarrass myself because I know I'm gonna get some of these wrong because I don't know specifically who is who, right? But like a lot of those organizations like ISIS and like Al Qaeda and whatever, a lot of them are of the same religion, either Shia or Sunni, that Saudi Arabia is, and Saudi Arabia is the one that's funding them, right? And then Iran is the other. Whichever one Saudi Arabia is, I'm fairly sure Iran is the other, right? And Iran is not the one that's the same religion that those other ones are. You know, I gotta get the details right. I suck with Middle Eastern stuff. You know, but yeah, no, they're putting out a lot of money that's going towards terrorist groups. We got to cut them off. The only reason we haven't is because we rely on them for oil. Oh, also, if you don't mind, I'd like to set the record straight real quick about like, you know, the wars that we had in the Middle East. It's not literally to go and seize oil, right? A lot of people say we're going over there to steal oil. It's not to go and seize oil. It's to make sure that the oil that they sell is
in U.S. dollars.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, great one.
Bro, that is exactly why I think Bitcoin is so important, because when we have these fiat currencies like that are liabilities on the central bank's balance sheet.
Yeah.
And the central bank is like a sister of the government. Like in the United States, our central bank, the Federal Reserve, is just 12 people who I don't think they're evil. I'm sure they're doing the best they can, but like you can't give that kind of power. Or you shouldn't, I should say. You shouldn't give that kind of power to humans when they can print money, when inflation is running rampant around the world. And I feel like because you're right, it's not about stealing the oil, it's about keeping everything valued in the U.S. dollar. And
yeah, exactly.
A lot of countries are like, screw the dollar. They don't want, like, everyone has to use the dollar. And ironically, like, because of that, like, everyone wants dollars because it's that global reserve currency. But at the end of the day, from as far as I've studied, Bitcoin just seems like such a better system where global elites, central bankers, whatever, people at the top cannot manipulate the money in a way that affects everyone else
that's
in the world.
Yeah, that is really crazy.
It is crazy. And you think when you let humans just like, rather than optimizing for like just constant as much profit as possible or growing as I feel like when you have a more honest form of money, humans optimize for better things overall, like advancing humanity, not trying to sell a product.
Yeah, I would love to see what the world would look like that. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, on a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a lot more free. We wouldn't need big government. Like, government would be there to provide the roads, I'm sure to some degree, we would need a military.
Enforce contracts.
Yeah, but overall, you could really cut back. Hopefully, we could pay teachers, policemen, firefighter, like more, so you get the best of the best in those crucial infrastructure positions.
Mm-hmm.
Not people who are not like especially with inflation now, man. It's crazy how fast our money is being devalued.
Yeah.
And not just ours, across the world. Like all central banks just started printing when these past 2 years when COVID hit.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. Yo, I've got a question, because you obviously know a lot more about this stuff. So some companies have started accepting payment in like Bitcoin or Ethereum, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you were someone that had faith in Bitcoin, wouldn't it be a really dumb decision to pay in Bitcoin because you think that it's going to go up, right? Whereas paying in dollars, that money's going down anyways. You're not losing more money than you would otherwise,
Bro, it is a great question, and it really depends on the jurisdiction you're in. You think if you're in Africa or Venezuela, or any Argentina, like any country that has experienced hyperinflation, if you're in one of those places, you need something that, like, on a relative basis, kind of keeps its value, and that just allows you to transact. And cryptos are volatile, but it's when your money is hyperinflated to the point it's like worthless. Like, at least even if it's like such a small amount, like what we would consider a small amount here, it allows them to transact. Bitcoin is infinitely divisible, and here in the States, to your point, it's like, yeah, you might as well try, and because when you transact in Bitcoin, it's a taxable event technically if you sell it for fiat at some point. Or say I bought $10 of Bitcoin when Bitcoin was $10, it goes to 40,000, and then I want to use
capital gains on that, right?
Exactly. You have to pay capital gains when you spend it. So it depends on your jurisdiction. Here in the States, I use U.S. dollar coin on my Coinbase debit card because I get cash back in crypto.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I can get like more Bitcoins, and like you said, at least I know to some degree with the dollar, even though inflation is being told it's at like 6.8% or something, even though I know I'm experiencing that inflation, it's much more stable on a day-to-day basis, where Bitcoin is obviously up and down. But yeah, for someone in the States, at this point in time, I'd say it's a better argument to just try and save as much as you possibly can in Bitcoin.
Yeah, just pay with regular US dollars, right?
Exactly. Pay all your fiat liabilities. That's why I still honestly use my current bank, because I need to write checks.
Yeah.
That's why I have. But like besides that, man, it's like Venmo, Cash App, Robinhood, SoFi, like all these super apps, like you can just use to send and receive, invest in stuff. It's crazy how convenient we do have it.
Yeah, no kidding. Actually, that's something that's overlooked a little bit. Americans, right? We just have like the easiest shit, right? Like we have access to all the best services, all the best goods, right?
I didn't even think about that, but you are so right. Like we are very fortunate. So many services and things in the media, like so many things we can watch. And I worry sometimes, like seeing on Twitter, like people getting suspended, like the censorship going around right now. Like it's crazy that it's starting to happen here too in the States, which like the ethos of this country is like, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, or property, if you will.
Yeah. I'm pretty damn liberal, so we might butt heads on that, but I think
honestly, I always want my
they'll swing back
to expand. I always want to remain open-minded and like expand the way I see things, because like that's what I said. I see these things on Twitter. I go down this rabbit hole. It's like I want to see both sides. I want to better understand. Expand my perspective.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, I've been listening to a few different YouTubers, right? That's where I get a lot of my politics from, which honestly is kind of embarrassing, but it looks like that's the direction most things are.
At least you're trying to learn, man. Like I feel like so many people are like, oh, like that's such a retort nowadays. Oh, you learn from social media. It's like, who the hell is not on social media? Like, and if you aren't respect, if you're off the grid, like doing your own thing, living with animals,
if you're still reading like newspapers, that's based,
Yeah, good on you. But yes, anyways, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I follow one real far left guy and I follow one centrist guy, right? Those two. And they both get a whole lot of hate on the internet. They go by the names. The far left guy is Vosh. The centrist guy is Destiny, right? They both get a whole bunch of hate. So just fair warning. You might get some nasty comments about that. But I think they give pretty good perspectives when you take a little bit of each.
Yeah. No, tell me.
Find a good middle ground.
What is something they've mentioned that has resonated with you?
Yeah, so Destiny, right, is the one that I put the most not faith, what's the word? Credence behind, right? He's pointed out a bunch of different he's poked holes in a few different narratives that have been going around. One, and again, this is gonna get a lot of hate. I got to learn more about this because I can't quite talk on it yet. But apparently, the Citizens United case wasn't actually that bad because of the way that speech works. When you donate money to a political person, right, to a politician, that is a form of speech, right? And there just isn't a good way to. How should I say this? I got to tiptoe,
I guess what do you mean speech? When you like freedom of speech, freedom of choice?
Yeah, exactly. It's a First Amendment issue, Mm-hmm. Being able to say donate, $27 to Bernie, right? That's a form of speech. And I'd say specifically $27 because wasn't that his average, contribution, I believe?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's just that's a form of speech. It's basically Citizens United. It's seen as like a vehicle for corruption, I guess. But the problem is there's just not a better way to protect that form of speech, right? Although I obviously would like to see much tighter restrictions on how much money could be given to politicians, right? But I don't know. But another one, along those same lines, another take that comes from Destiny that's regarding money going to politicians. He doesn't seem to believe that money in politics has as much of an influence on the policies that's being passed as the fact that just so many Americans just don't vote, that if we had much higher voter turnout, then we just wouldn't see some of this bullshit that big companies are trying to push,
It's a good point. I'm sure especially with AI and what you can do, you can optimize to really try and get out in front of your audience or the people in the middle who vote. Mm-hmm. And you can target the people who vote and spend all your money focusing on that. It's like the 20 to 80% rule. 80% of your productive work comes from 20% of your actual work.
Yeah. Although the super hyper targeted ads, I think that's super scary. I think that's making a massive rift in the middle where people are only now seeing the content that actually agrees with them, and I really do think that's one of the biggest dangers that's come from social media. The algorithms only targeting you with stuff that you like basically makes these massive echo chambers, that's a pretty scary issue. We got to find a way to get past that. I think that actually is a massive problem for democracy,
100%, man. Who knows how much other countries might have put ads on social medias, or like you said, we have access to all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But for talented enough hackers or whatever.
Yeah, we know absolutely for a fact that Russia and China have been fucking with our social media, targeting ads at people specifically to create division, that's been proven. That's not even
I'm with you. I know. I totally believe that Russia and China have manipulated ads to try and sow misinformation, increase polarization, and that's the most unfortunate part, because it's you're right. America is this it's great that we have these checks on power in a democracy, and we don't want to let it rot from the inside through polarization and not being able to love someone on either side of the political aisle or getting too entrenched in your own side. Because at the end of the day, we are like we're all citizens of this nation, and we should all be working together productively.
Yeah.
Should be working together productively at a global scale, and that's why I love Bitcoin so much, because it just allows humans to optimize for the best in society, building out important things in life, like and what's the saying? It's like, good times lead to weak men lead to hard times lead to strong men.
I've heard this before.
Yeah, I started like that, but
I think that's a good saying. But you've seen that Joe Rogan post on Instagram, right? Of the political compass, right?
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind. I'll drop it.
No,
he put the strong men in the auth-right thing, like the fascist side, and it's like that's a little bit yikes. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure I understand the meme. He put. Please send it to me. On the YouTube video, I'll add it in the video afterwards. Out of curiosity, what have you been thinking about? I don't know if I actually want to listen to the one with Robert Malone soon. I haven't gotten the chance yet, but have you listened to any Joe Rogan podcast recently? What are your thoughts on Joe Rogan?
I think the last one that I've read the last one that I watched was the Andrew Yang one, right? Now Andrew Yang, I don't really know what to think about him, right? I like a lot of his policies. My top ones would be the UBI, right? UBI is pretty based.
Universal basic income?
Yeah. My favorite. What's up?
I was just gonna say that is one thing I'm not sure, but continue your thought and then I'll chime in after the fact.
Yeah. I don't know the economics behind it, but I like a base floor, base floor income for everybody, But my favorite Andrew Yang policy, this is big brained as fuck. It's a how we have the World Trade Organization, right?
Yes.
And it standardizes trade policies, right?
Mm-hmm.
He proposed a World Technological Standards Organization, which basically would enforce that. How should I explain it? How you've got an Apple phone, right? An iPhone, and it can connect via Bluetooth to any Bluetooth speaker, right?
Of course.
Basically, a little bit of background information. China, they don't have a full technological ecosystem yet, right? Our tech ecosystem comes out of Silicon Valley, and they're trying really hard to catch up. They think in about 10 years they'll have an operating system that can compete with Windows and Apple. But when they do that, their software and their hardware likely won't be compatible with a lot of the software and hardware from the West, right? So you won't be able to hook up our technology with theirs. And that'll make a massive rift around the world with some countries using some systems and some countries using others, and then they just won't be compatible. And that's going to be a big mess, and it's going to destroy a lot of value, right? So he is proposing a World Technological Standards Organization that would mandate that basically all of this technology be compatible with each other, right? Which would just go a long, long, long way in bringing us all together, and hopefully, China's stuff will be compatible with us, but I feel like they probably won't have it that way. And the only way to actually mandate that happens is through multilateral agreements, like with the World Trade Organization, that kind of thing.
I do agree that it's very crucial that citizens around the world can all have technology that talks with each other. And I mean, especially think about how many AI algorithms are going to be affected by that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know if, or at least what worries me is I want to see something like Bitcoin allow for that to happen. So anyone can interact with each other and have that commerce and write smart contracts or other things they might need on a layer 2 or 3 solution.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I feel like just more oversight or government organizations, when you when you have these, I just feel like when power gets centralized sometimes, like that's why decentralization is so base, because like technology is going to change the world in so many ways. And when you give that power to police it or to kind of control it to some degree, to an organization, a lot of times it either gets corrupted or I don't know. The centralization's led to a lot of great things, like you were saying with Silicon Valley and like all the apps we have today, Twitter, Reddit. I mean, all of them, Gmail, Google. They make our life so easy in so many ways, but
power corrupts,
It does. Power corrupts, and we need more people optimizing for the best in humanity, not to sell shitty consumer products.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, definitely feel that. Yeah, so back to Joe Rogan. I actually don't really know what to think about him at all. I just hear too many things from too many sides, and I just honestly don't care enough about him to actually look into it myself.
Fair point. Back to Andrew Yang, universal basic income. Why do you think universal basic income would be a net positive overall for society? Because I know at this point, like inflation's running so hot, it's like, sheesh.
Yeah, it's mostly, that's the thing, is that we have 330 million people in the United States. If we're doing like say even at the low end, like $500 a month, that's a shit ton of money every single month for every single person. That definitely would cause inflation. I just like the goal behind it, basically to make a basic floor, like just trying to achieve everybody being able to afford their basic, like meet the basic standards for being able to live. I want everyone to be able to pay rent. I want everybody to be able to have health care, of course. And UBI is just one way that might be able to get us there. If I'm not married to UBI specifically, if we could find a better tool to get us there, I'm on board.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying you're not like married to it specifically. And honestly, like I'm with you on so many of these points. Just the one thing that really scares me is like having Big Brother, who like the Fed printed so much money. I think it was like, and I could be wrong on these numbers, I'm no expert, but I think it was like 7 trillion the past 2 years. Like, I don't think people understand how much money that is.
Yeah, I don't even have perspective on that. Yeah.
As humans, how can't like you look, there's like a website. I'll link it in this video. And it was like showing, like trying to scale out and show you how much money and it's just like it's hard to wrap your mind around it. So anyways, I feel like having a central bank that can just like, if try and maybe do a central bank digital currency and just issue out money. And like, I don't want people to become more dependent on the government, because that just is an excuse for the government to grow more and just try and get we don't need more government in our lives. Tax revenue has gone up every year since the financial crash. I'm pretty sure, but spending has just continued to grow, and our debt has just gone more and more and more up. And I think the best thing for the U.S.A. to do would be to embrace Bitcoin, embrace the idea that anyone can be their own bank. They don't have to have permission from some third party to do commerce with each other, and let humanity optimize for the best in itself, and people transacting with each other without a Big Brother. And I know Big Brother doesn't like that. Big Brother wants to centralize that power, but I do hope that at some point, like, we embrace it, and even, maybe the U.S. government gets into mining Bitcoin and using nuclear power to do it, and all these governments around the world do it, and it helps build out a bunch of various green energy too for the grid, not just nuclear, which is pretty green energy as I understand it.
Yeah, nuclear is extremely based. Based. We are not hitting net zero emissions without nuclear. It just cannot happen.
Bro, the whole idea of net zero too, and I could be wrong, but like, as I understand it, the whole idea of like net zero is like seeming to be a bunch of bullshit. Like, it's amazing that like people flying on private jets to these like summits to talk about climate change.
Yeah.
In reality, using power, using energy, increasing energy efficiency, increasing energy across the globe for all humans, typically it's really improves quality of life, doesn't deteriorate it.
I think the private jets going to the environmental summits, I think that's just an issue of bad optics. I don't think that's actually like, emblematic of a bigger problem. Because those people are doing more good at those meetings, of course, than they're actually doing bad by flying there.
See, though, that's where I don't know if they're a lot of these people. I don't think they're trying to do good for. You let the private companies take care of it. Like I don't know, on both sides of the aisle, man. You see a lot of politicians just screaming and shouting for various bullshit, and it's like I'm sure you have like the amount of plastic in the Pacific Ocean, for example, like. Who's helping with that? Private companies, Mr. Beast fucking doing YouTube videos.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's pretty basic.
let the private citizens take care of that shit. The government has, I don't know. So there are some good ones out there, I think, but I think the majority of politicians or people flying to these summits don't typically do more. And I could be wrong, but
I think it's really just an issue of. Oh, you know what? No. It's an issue of China, bro. America, right? Yeah, we put out a shit ton, and per capita, we're really big polluters. As far as it goes, I think we might actually be number one per capita, right? But even if we in America hit net zero in the next like 10 years, it does not matter if China doesn't change its ways, bro. Like they are a big thing in China.
It's coal power, right?
What's up?
It's coal powered mostly in China.
Yeah. Right? No, they're like, hold on, I don't want to get. I got to look this up because I don't want to get my facts wrong. I know India is like 40% coal. Hold on.
The one thing I feel like that's hard sometimes, like at least in our media, is China always gets portrayed as the bad guy. And while I do think their government overreaches and has done some horrible atrocities and needs to stop being so imperialistic, I think the United States has been incredibly imperialistic, especially financially. And I think there's probably a ton of really like good, kind-hearted Chinese citizens. It's just I couldn't. It's hard to try and put myself in the shoes of the Chinese citizen who, on the one hand, probably has a lot of pride and respect for his government because that's what his society deems very important.
Yeah,
but on the other hand,
nationalistic.
Yeah, on the other hand, who has a government that's like fucked up in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, the figure is 60%. They're getting 60. China's getting 60% of their power from coal, and I know India's getting more of theirs from coal. So they're probably like, they're definitely not just 40. They're definitely above 60 too. But a lot of that shit is like face, right? Like I went to China. I didn't see this for myself. I get a lot of my information from a couple of people that lived there for 14 years and 10 years respectively, two different people. And they have this video of these solar powered stoplights, right? Like a lot of the stoplights in some of these first tier cities are solar powered, right? But they actually aren't. They just have solar panels, and the solar panels are literally not connected. Like you could see in the video.
So it's all for show.
The actual, yeah. It's a concept of face, right? Like to lose face, they're just all about face,
Man, that's just so sad. Like,
like they have the power to make the biggest change when it comes to the environment, but they just aren't, And Russia is actively rooting against climate change, or rooting for climate change because they're the ones that'll win out the biggest.
Why? Because Russia's so cold.
Yeah. So two main reasons, right? One, they've got the most land mass of any country, right? But most of it is like completely uninhabitable because of the cold. But once it starts warming up, people are going to be able to move farther and further north, right? And also, a big part of the damage, not a majority, but a whole bunch of the damage from climate change is going to hit a lot of the island nations in Asia, right? And that's going to send a bunch of climate refugees up north. And so those two together are a great combination for Russia because as they have more land that's habitable, right, they're also going to need to fill that with people, right? So they'll be able to take in climate refugees and basically like double or triple their population, which is going to be great for them. And the second part of why it's good for them is because say you have goods that you want to move from like Beijing to like Denmark or whatever, you know, from China to somewhere in Europe, right? Before, you know, currently what you have to do is send it through the Strait of Malacca, which is like, you know, over by is it Vietnam, Indonesia, one of those Asian countries. You got to send it through the Strait of Malacca. You got to send it through like the Strait of Hormuz, and then the other one that was blocked by the ship, you know, like earlier this year or last year, and you know, and then around Italy through the Mediterranean over to that part of, you know, to the west side of Europe, and that's a really, really far journey. But once that ice up in the Arctic starts melting, you'll be able to send it straight north of Russia through that ice to Europe. So that's going to open up entire new trade routes. And Russia is the one that's all along that line, right? So they'll have full control over that trade route. So Russia is going to be a massive, massive winner with climate change, you know?
That's all. It's like I think of like the geopolitical implications of climate change. My God,
it's pretty scary, bro. Yeah.
What do you think allows the world to, or is the best thing governments can do to try and work together to further humanity, rather than be so adversarial towards each other? And
that's a great question. I wish I had an answer to that, man. I'd be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be the richest man alive if I had an answer to that. Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's not working to just reinforce like, hey, we're all humans, we're all trapped on this earth together. You know, that doesn't seem to have been working. I don't know what we can do. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
I think we can remain based. I think that helps.
Yeah, we just gotta stay based, brother.
And honestly, I know I sound like a broken record, but I think Bitcoin can really help, just because I feel like scientists across the world who love, you know, I love watching Lex Friedman's podcast, because I don't think he gives a shit what he doesn't clearly, like, where anyone comes from, what their background might be. He just wants to learn and expand his mind and advance humanity. Same with like, and I know Elon Musk gets a lot of slack, but I do think like his goal of trying to make humans a multiplanetary species is so important.
Yeah. One thing I kind of wish Elon had done instead of focusing on Mars, I wish he focused on the moon, dude. Because like launching ships from the moon, where it's like much lower gravity and there's no atmosphere, is like 1,000,000 times easier than launching them from Earth. We'd be able to get to Mars so much quicker if we just launched from the moon. You know,
Facts.
That's just my opinion.
No, it's very true. Yeah, we can take a quick pause, and then I'll just send you a link again. I'm gonna stop this recording real quick. Yep, absolutely. And we're back. Okay, so where were we talking about? We were talking
Russia?
about, yeah, or just how I think we were talking
climate
about
change, yeah,
how the world can be work together to further humanity and not destroy ourselves.
Yeah, good stuff. I think honestly we just got to do it through memes, you know.
Seizing the memes of productions.
Yeah. Right out.
As Punk6529 on Twitter likes to say. Great follow. So what are some things you've been doing recently to try and stay healthy? I'll say, like, I feel like it's so hard to, I don't know, take a break from technology sometimes, get away from like the dopamine kick that is all of our timelines and our news feeds, and what AI has targeted us with our echo chambers, as you call them.
Yeah, as far as like mental health goes, I don't know. I'm spending a lot of time with my little brother's dog, who's a little sweetheart. So that's pretty cool. Tucker is a big. As far as physical health goes, that's a tough one. I guess, I don't know. I lost a little bit of weight recently, but I didn't really change anything, so I don't know how that happened. Been riding my bike a lot. You know, I like going on bike rides, I guess.
Oh yeah, I remember you used to walk a ton too, and I've been trying to do that recently. And
I love walking.
So great walking, man. So important.
Yeah, I want to get into golf for the same reason, where I can just plug in some headphones and listen to a YouTube video and zone out.
Yep. I'm horrible. I'm still trying to break 100, but golf is awesome because it's literally that, man. You take your cart out there, you walk. Hell, you can drink beer if you want.
Yeah. I
It's
still haven't really gotten the form right. I'm struggling with that. But,
it's hard, man. There's a book. I actually got it for Christmas, and my girlfriend's stepdad had it, and I read a little bit of it called Harvey Pinnock's Little Red Book, and it's about some dude who was like a golf pro his whole life, and he wrote a little book with all his tips and tricks from being a golf pro his whole life, and it's actually some helpful stuff in there. I haven't broken 100 yet, but I'm gonna reread it and see if
nice,
I can get it to help me break 100.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'll probably just download it online though, because honestly, fuck paying for like any kind of media.
Dude, I tell you, with everything. I mean, that's what the internet it is allowed, like file sharing and shit, to be almost free.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time I paid for like a movie was.
Bro, when you think about
it, no, just kidding. I take it back. I paid for fucking
the new Spider-Man.
The new Spider-Man, bro. That movie was so good. Oh, I just worried the dog. That movie was so good. Holy shit. That's the best Marvel movie ever made, and there is not any competition. Like, not even just MCU.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
God. Yeah, you want to talk about that movie?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say you think it's better than Avengers Endgame?
Easy.
Wow.
Easy claps, bro. No question. Yeah, no, so good. Like, Avengers Endgame, I think its best strength, in my opinion, what I liked the most about it was all like the Easter eggs and the references. They just showed so many things that you just I like comics a lot. I started reading, like Marvel and DC like senior year of high school, right?
Yeah.
So I've been reading since then. There's a lot of stuff in Endgame that comics people have just been wanting to see on the big screen for so long, right? I think the biggest strength of that movie was like the Easter eggs. Man, No Way Home just blew that out of the water, bro. Oh my god, it was so good.
I did like having the different when you're gonna make the same movie over and over again. I did appreciate the fact they brought like all of the old actors into one, and
yes, I know,
and all the villains too. Like, it was cool seeing.
And they like messed with their costumes and stuff. Even the villains, like, they didn't use the same costumes. Electro looked totally different.
True.
Green Goblin, he had that like hoodie. He looked sick. Yeah, it was sick.
Did I watched Paige had on the old like Iron Man 1 the other day, and that movie held up so well. And just also growing up and like starting to understand how like a corporate board works, and it's just like watch and the whole war machine. Like, that's kind of where I think Bitcoin is so much better than fiat currency, because I feel like fiat just optimizes for this war machine that it's like they think of. And like I said, I know we have to have some military to a degree, but I think fiat just encourages more and more and more military spending, and like I said, it just goes back to trying to have humanity be a multiplanetary species and watching humanity flourish.
Elon was in Iron Man 2, right?
Was he really?
Yeah, he showed up for a little bit. Yeah, at the like the Monaco race or whatever.
Damn, I did not realize that.
Yeah,
dude, it's crazy to think too, like how I guess. It's pretty recently, I guess, since college, I'd say that I really thought, like, even knew who Elon Musk was.
Right.
And now, obviously, like, with the amount of money printed, obviously, I guess what I get frustrated sometimes seeing is when politicians yell out, tax the rich, it's like, I feel like we shouldn't demonize those who are successful. And a lot of times the reason the wealthy can get around and pay so little in taxes is because of the elites are kind of the ones who write the rules. So a lot of times the wealthy will just take these tax loopholes, if you will, or they can pay brilliant accountants and lawyers to.
Honestly, we don't even need to raise the tax rates. We just need to close the loopholes. That'll bring in so much money for our our budget. We could balance the budget literally just by closing these loopholes that the billionaires take advantage of.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I don't know the answer. Like, and I do agree to some degree. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to demonize success, but I also don't feel like having government spend less, actually letting the free market decide, not printing a shit ton of money and manipulating the market.
for sure.
But
Side note, ignore like the growls. I'm playing with my dog. You know, I'm playing with that dog.
all good.
Yeah. One. I think the only gripe that I have with tax the rich, right, is that people see it as an end on its own, right? As opposed to like a means to an end, you know? Like really the end is to fund the programs that we want in place. And then the means for that is to tax the rich, right? Whereas people just want to tax the rich just to tax them, you know? I think we should just set the rates to whatever it would be that would achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve, you know?
Yeah, man. I wish they would just add make it as transparent as possible. Let anyone go and audit it if they want. Let anyone look into where the money's being spent.
Oh yeah.
And I think to a degree you can donate your money to charity and write it off on your taxes. But what if like that was the tax? Like you put the money. So like say you love the blue, right? You put all your tax donation to the police to fund the police to have the best and brightest on the force, or the teachers union, or just the teachers, or whoever like group of people you really believe in and really think are crucial and important to the infrastructure of your community.
Yeah, sure.
And you could use your tax money to do that. And I feel like we did that across the board, like you said, to some degree. Tighten all those loopholes, make it more transparent, give everyone a fair playing field, and then just let the market optimize for what it wants to do. And I'm no expert, but I really do think that, I believe in humanity, and I'd say I'm an optimist and hope if they made it more transparent and not a way for just zombie companies to exist and all, a bunch of BS and manipulation that goes on and what is supposedly supposed to be a free market.
Yeah, just transparency, transparency is key. The more we have that, the better,
Amen. And you can do it like, you know what I mean? Like in Bitcoin, you can.
Yeah, it's on the ledger, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. It's a big ledger that and Satoshi aligned incentives. So it's worked out so far so great. And anyone can go and audit it. And it's not like it says Chet transferred money to Christian. It's like X234YZ transferred money to 23864CK. Just a random series of numbers and digits, and so it's like and then some people allow themselves to be identified, but if you didn't want to be identified, no worries, but people can still see like the money
where it's going.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no dark money, right?
and that's why it's just like
I might not be using that term correctly.
No, I think like that's been a lot of the FUD spread about it, the fear, uncertainty, and down in the media is like, oh, it's used for illicit activities. And I think a piece came out today talking about they did a study and Bitcoin accounts for, like, of all Bitcoin transactions, I think 0.15% or something like that. I'll go back and check that and link the article, but I think it's like 0.15% of Bitcoin transactions are used for illicit activities. And if you compare that with cash, like it's not even close. Like cash greatly outweighs it.
How do people how do people get those numbers? It feels like it seems like there'd be no way of knowing that kind of thing, right? Sure, I don't know.
Well, think about like when like the Colonial Pipeline got hacked and they paid them in Bitcoin, right? And then the FBI was able to recover that Bitcoin, like 95% of it.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So what the FBI did is they just traced that Bitcoin, and then the second that person, because they spun up their own node, went and looked at the ledger, and then when that Bitcoin got transferred to an exchange, a lot of these exchanges have KYC requirements, and by an exchange, a place where you can buy and sell your Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for fiat, so whatever currency you might have in your jurisdiction, and the second those bad actors sent that money to the exchange, the FBI contacted the exchange, said, hold that payment. That's illegal funds. That's bad Bitcoin. That's Bitcoin they shouldn't have. And they took those funds back. And all of them, but were able to recover the majority of the hack.
So what you're telling me is that the feds did something based? What?
Yeah, I saw another article today, and I'm not even going to try and guess numbers, but I think I saw like that the public distrust of the feds, the FBI, is that like an all-time high recently or something?
Sorry. What's up? One more time.
I was just saying that the public. I saw something today that like the public distrust of the Fed, the FBI. I shouldn't say the Fed because I don't want to confuse it with the Federal Reserve.
Feds, plural.
The FBI. Yeah, I don't know. Just more transparency. We shouldn't be punishing whistleblowers. Free Ross Albright. Free Julian Assange. Like,
yeah, I do not know what side of the Julian Assange thing it might sound like I'm Fed posting right now. I don't know enough about Julian Assange to calm down to take a side either way. I've heard something. Shoot, I'm in a weird place politically where I'm paying more attention to both sides, right? And so I'm, actually Julian Assange is a kind of an exception to that because I see a lot of love for him on both the left and the right? But usually that left is like the far left.
Well, I feel like it's freedom of the, it's like press freedom, and like he was just exposing American war crimes. And I'm not.
Exposing war crimes is base as fuck, no question. I'm not worried about that. I just heard that. Oh, calm down. Sorry, stepped on the computer. Yeah. Okay. Either way, I feel like I'm gonna embarrass myself if I take this one. I gotta look more into that one.
Like what is the hesitancy? And no judgment. Like I'm not.
Yeah. So the hesitancy from my side was that there was a number of leapfrog bases, right? So military bases that are used for like the stuff that would not otherwise have been known about, right? And we had like agents sorted there, and apparently they were compromised by the fact that information was put out, right? So but again, I got to look way more into that.
True. No, I mean there's always what is the saying? There's three sides to every story. Each person's in the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while exposing war crimes, incredibly noble act, and
of course,
I think it's horrible to see what that man is going through now for trying to do his job incredibly well.
Yeah, it does suck that he's holed up in an embassy. Oh no, he's out. Where is he now?
I think he's still at the embassy, but I think we're still trying to extradite him.
True. Yeah, all I know is that if I were stuck in an embassy for years, I would fucking blow my brains out. I'm just gonna say it. That he's way more convicted than I am. He's got stronger convictions than I have.
Yeah, it sounds horrible, and I appreciate him exposing war crimes. But like I said too, I don't know, I'm no expert, but if it led to U.S. military forces or people being compromised, obviously that is also not good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the money. Hit the nail on the head. 3 sides to every story.
Putting the nail through the money, though, we need Bitcoin, and we need it like yesterday. But I kid. I think it'll be used in the future, and it'll slowly become that global reserve currency, and hopefully leads to a much better world where world governments aren't so worried about their geopolitical influence, but rather just optimizing for their citizens and creating a prosperous, good world where every person can have their own private property and optimize for what they want, not for what someone else wants.
Yeah, I've got the same opinion about Bitcoin becoming the new world currency as I do of the European Union federalizing, right? I personally don't know whether it would work out well or poorly, but if it did work out well, I would love to see what that looked like.
When you say the European Union federalizing, you mean like kind of becoming like the European states, if you will?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The United States of Europe.
The U.S.A.
Yeah. I don't know if it would work out well or not. I don't know what the fuck it would look like, but if it did work out well, I'd like to see what it looked like,
Yeah, and I mean they're kind of like that, right? Like you can, I don't know with all the bullshit lockdowns, but at some point you were able to travel freely between any of those countries, right? Like that were in the EU, and that is
same with England until Brexit, man. That was such a fumble.
I don't know really much about it, but that is kind of crazy they left.
Yeah, although it might work out well for them because like America, we're kind of pulling back internationally, right? We're not like as involved with other countries, or we're moving in the direction that we're not going to be as involved with other countries as we have been, right? There's like, like 6 or 7 real big, not big as in like massive, but like important countries that we're going to be sticking with in the future, that we're targeting as like our main allies, and then we're letting the rest of the world more do its own thing. I gotta send you this really good talk by this guy named Peter Zeihan, right? Is like a, what's the word? He's just like a strategist, It's on YouTube under the YouTube channel Geopop, right? Geo isn't like, GEO, Geopop.
Yep.
He has some really base takes. I'd have to go and refresh and watch that video again before I could talk more on it. But definitely check it out if you get the chance.
Yeah, no, send the links, man. I'll attach them. I always like to go back and edit and put up a little picture.
Nice, I like that. Yeah.
I always like to end these podcasts by opening up the floor for you to ask me one question. It could be as simple as like, what's my favorite ice cream flavor, to something extremely personal. And I also have a question for you. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to take it?
Yeah, why don't you go first, and I'll try to think of something.
Word. So in your Twitter bio, you have individual rights, systemic solutions, and I'd love to know kind of what that means to you in an ideal world. Obviously, we don't live in a utopia. Humans are random, wild, crazy, incredible creatures, and we do very unpredictable things. But I would love to know, best case scenario, what does that mean to you?
That's awesome question. So I'll start with the individual rights, right? Obviously, human rights, massively important to me. Probably my number one, issue. And I think generally when people have more rights, they're able to make better decisions, and that's both positive, right? If we're talking about rights as in freedoms, we're talking about not just positive freedoms, but also lack of what's a good way to say this? Okay. So a positive freedom would be like, hey, I'm allowed to go out and get drunk whenever I want, right? That's a positive freedom. It's something that I can do. But a lack of negative freedoms, sorry, it's tough to put into words. So on the other end, it would be a lack of things that are inhibiting you from doing what you want. Basically, if you want to go and move across the country, you can't do that if you don't have like the funds to be able to set up like a moving, being able to, it's tough to put into words. Shoot. Okay. Either way, I'm just going to move on from that.
No, but I think
rights, generally when people have more rights, I think they make better decisions.
Yeah.
Education is a big thing of that. It gives you more freedom.
So important.
Yeah. Systemic solutions, that comes in because generally, if you're trying to change problems, you can't look at it from an individual standpoint, right? That's why the systemic is really important. Really, all these changes are changes that we need to make on a systemic level,
like an institutional level.
That's exactly. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is really, really important to me. And you can't really have one without the other,
Yeah, and from the systemic solutions, I think Bitcoin can kind of be that ground up way rather than top down, because it's going to be the individuals like myself and the millions of other people in the world who have opted into it, and in some of these countries where they really need it and are transacting with it on a day-to-day basis. It's very hopeful. And I think at some point we'll see big institutions and the likes hopefully get into it and embrace it more and more. And like we kind of talked about earlier, there will become a point where people don't even know they're interacting with the Bitcoin software. They're just interacting with their device, and it's so simple, man. They never even have to see the layer one solution. They don't even need to know what a blockchain is or
I like that.
How why it's decentralized. Yeah, but that said, I do think it's so good to go down the rabbit hole and for people to learn about it and see how powerful and freeing this technology is, and learn about the central banks and like what even is money, just a unit of account, medium of exchange, store of value, and why when you give that power to 12 people, in the case of the U.S.'s Federal Reserve, they can print a lot of it.
They can make decisions. You know, they can make decisions that affect a whole lot of people.
Yeah, nicely put. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think of a good question.
You can toss me a softball.
Yeah. Good question. Let me think. Maybe we could just like splice this out and just cut to the point where I actually think of something.
I might keep that in just for
or we can just leave this in.
No, that's fine. I'm from here. I'll splice it.
Yeah, there we go. It's not really like a.
No, you're good, man. That's the beauty. It can be anything.
Oh, I got one. All right. All right. And you said it could be like, anything you don't care, people hear it or whatever.
No, man. That's why I like to leave it open. If someone wants to ask me a hard question, I try to be as open and honest and authentic and willing to change my mind. Well,
this isn't one that requires all too much thought. All right. Way back in the day, back when we, way back in the day, every now and then when we had spectacular shits, we used to send each other pictures. You want to get back into that?
I think there's an app for that now. There's like a poop app where like you can let someone else know if dude, I totally forgot about that. And dude, when you think like all humans at some point in their lives, like you look back at the shit you did and you're like, that is so cringe. But in the moment, man, it was so funny. And that's why it's so important to keep an open mind, and why I believe personally that we're all human. We all have follies. We all do fucked up shit, and why you need, no pun intended, and why you need to decentralize the power and let humans come to consensus. And I really do believe Bitcoin is becoming that powerful force that can allow
humans to different pictures of their shit.
Yeah, I can't believe
let's mint them as NFTs,
bro. I saw I'm getting sent articles from my buddy. There's a fucking influencer or something who's selling NFT farts now. She was originally selling farts like in a jar. It is now selling NFT farts. So not only can you get the fart in the jar,
like metaverse farts.
No, bro, she's actually farting in a jar and fucking mailing it, as I understand it.
Wait, how does that translate to an NFT? I'm curious.
So like you like do the NFT is like it's just like a non-fungible token. So you think a fungible item like cash is fungible, you can interchange it. Non-fungible token, it's like a one of one.
Yep.
And you
that's the only thing I understand about NFT is the actual like definition of what a non-fungible means.
If I had any advice for anyone, I'd say first go do your own research, go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. None of this financial advice, we are not experts, but I think the best asset you can buy at this point in time, personally, my opinions, is Bitcoin, and learning about it. And the rest of it is kind of cool to some degree or whatever, but I think it's kind of like...
Oh, I got a better question. What? Dogecoin, is it a fucking scam or not?
I think Dogecoin is a great lesson in the virality of memes to tie it back to the very beginning.
Good answer.
And I think, like I said, I think Bitcoin is the only one like that matters in the rest of the
world. Bitcoin has actual infrastructure behind it that can be used for stuff, right?
It's just like the most powerful, that it's like the hardest to attack, the biggest, and it's kind of hard to articulate in like a short. Just as like from what I understand, it is like really it's the only currency that has a chance at becoming a global reserve currency. The rest of them are cool and fun and nothing against them. And I've traded around in altcoins and I have some NFTs. Like I own the domain name binmucker.crypto on the Polygon blockchain. But I just think, and I literally, for this podcast, I make these things called Bitmuckers, and if this ever gets big and an anonymous person wants to buy a Bitmucker, they can use that to come on this podcast. And I just like making them at night on my iPad. Like I just do it on Perkrate, and it's fun, and it's really worth nothing. I would literally, at this point in time, accept any bid, put on a Bitmucker. But I think like I wouldn't say it's a sound investment. And most I think Bitcoin really is the only one that has any shot at becoming a global reserve currency. And I hope that is the mission that is the one that breaks out. And just, I could be wrong, but I really do think that it could lead to a much more honest, open, transparent, better.
I might cop one of those Bitmuckers. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go as far as to say, everyone that's listening to this right now, This podcast is gonna fucking blow up. It's guaranteed. It's a surefire investment. Fuck what Wall Street people say. There are surefire investments. This podcast. Go and get some Binmucker today. Pay $100 per one. Get that shit.
Well, Christian, I appreciate you coming on, man. It was great catching up.
Yeah, back at you, dog. It's good to catch up.
Oh yeah, we'll have to have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure, my man.